earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, hello everyone. My name's Rick Farron, and I'm coming to you from the Apostate capital of the world, right up here in Boston, Massachusetts. And it's so good to have so many people with us already. You know, I was thinking during the summertime, you'd think that people would be away on vacation or maybe out to the beach or the mountains or somewhere. But we have people coming in here a lot lately. I don't know what's going on, but I think I know. I think what's happening is we have so many Jehovah's Witnesses that are leaving the organization. And what they're doing is they're going to the conventions, because right now is convention season for JWs. We know that. So I believe they're going to the conventions. And then what they're doing is they're going to their hotel room and they want to hear the other side of the story. Now, don't you think for a second that these witnesses aren't doubting? Look at all the PMOs we have out there, friends. There's got to be 4 million PMOs, physically in, mentally out. So we have all these PMOs going to the convention to satisfy their mom, their dad, their relatives and friends. But, they're going to the hotel room at night and they want to see what's going on the other side of the road, which is the Six Screens Telenetwork. This is where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses come to talk, and they've been doing it for 20 years. So we're glad you're with us, and I think that's why we're getting such a big uptick of people coming in the last, I've been noticing it since the conventions opened up in the end of May. Boy, our numbers have been going big time in here. So thank you. If you're listening in tonight, and, don't go running away. We're not mad, irate apostates. We're not mentally diseased. We're not agents of Satan, the devil. We aren't the disgusting things standing in the holy place. No, we're just the people that have found out what the Watchtower is hiding behind. Yes. Well, I'll tell you, we got that convention. I'm still getting pumped up over that. That convention's coming up here in 2 weeks. Now, in 2 weeks, we will not have our regular Six Screens program. We'll be doing a live stream right from the Still Alive in 2025 convention, ex-Jehovah's Witness convention. It's right up here in the Boston area. I hope you can come up and be with us. I've been sending tickets out like crazy. We've been putting signs up. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the news. But I hope you can come and be with us. We've got 40 speakers, if you can believe that. Now, the convention is August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And the response has been remarkable. I cannot. We'll lock that guy out for now. See, the Watchtower doesn't like us. They hate this idea of the convention. They're going berserk over this. They hate the idea of the convention. And but what we'll do is we'll just continue to go forward, whether the Watchtower likes it or not. See, what the Watchtower is doing here, that the Watchtower hates it when ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are having fun and getting together. They hate that, folks. And the reason why they hate it is because when we leave the Watchtower, we're supposed to return to the vomit. We're supposed to be these bad, mentally diseased people. And the Watchtower doesn't really like us having fun. But boy, we are going to have a ton of fun coming up for the convention. I'm going to open up the lines once again, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to unlock it, and I'm going to put everybody. The conference has been unlocked. And I'm going to put everybody on mute. Okay, I believe everybody's on mute. So I don't believe you can call in right now, but just hold your horses until we get some of these drunken Bethelites out of the way. But anyways, let me bring some things up here. I'll talk a little bit about the convention. I was saying before that jackass came in here and rudely interrupted me, I was saying that we have 40 speakers, just about 40 speakers that are coming to the convention. It's going to be August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, 2025. That's coming up in 2 weeks. And we've already given out about close to 300 tickets, folks. So if you're one of them, we're looking forward to you coming and being here with us at the convention. Some people are coming in early. Others will be coming in Friday morning. And that's when the convention starts. But just to give you an idea, we will be live streaming it. So we will not have a program, normal programming 2 weeks from now will be disrupted so we can do a live stream. And our live stream is going to be really great. We're hoping to get the largest live stream ever of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses online. Friends, you're going to want to watch this. If you're an ex-Jehovah's Witness or a person that has concerns about the Jehovah's Witness religion, maybe you're a relative or a friend, and you know how odd and how weird the Jehovah's Witnesses are at times, and sometimes you wonder about that. Yeah. Hold on one second. Well, we'll have to lock that up right now, folks. So that's what we have to do. It's really a shame that these guys come in and try to mess everything up. But anyways, let's get back to where we were. So what we got is we've got, as I said, speakers. We got on Friday morning, we have a meet and greet session. And what that will do is that would allow people to come in and they can meet each other and talk with each other. And we're going to have them speak into a microphone if they're so willing. And they want to be able to talk about how they came up here and why they're here and about their trek in the Watchtower. So we'll be looking forward to them coming on and being with us at the meet and greet. There'll be a number of them that have already registered to talk and to speak for 10 minutes on their plight in the Watchtower. So that's coming up. That's coming up very, very shortly in 2 weeks, like I say. Also, the other thing that's of interest here is we do have a movie company from Spain. As a matter of fact, some of you folks might have seen our little, let me put this up here right now and talk a little bit about it. Hold on one second. Let me get the clip up here. We have a movie company from Spain that is exposing the Jehovah's Witness with a documentary film. Now, the documentary film is going to open up. It's going to be shown in a number of countries in Spanish and in English. And I believe it'll be on network like Pluto and A&E and some of these cable networks, I believe, that will be on. So they're starting film on August 1st. And they're starting out right at our convention. So I'm somewhat flattered with that. To have the movie company start a documentary about Jehovah's Witnesses right at our convention up here in Boston. And they're going to open up with, we have a big truck I've got that we are carrying all of our equipment, sound equipment. We have to build a stage. I had to build a stage for the convention. I had to build a drummer's stand. So they want to get us driving that truck in. Now, we can't set up till early Friday morning, which will be 6 o'clock in the morning, because there's also an event in the same ballroom that I rented. There's an event that's going to go on there on Thursday night. So we can't go in Thursday night. So we have to set up Friday morning, which is going to be a little trick. So I got my crew. We're going to get in there around 6 in the morning and set the stage up, get the sound equipment working, the TV monitors and all of that, and get ready for a history-making moment, one of the biggest events ever in the world of the ex-Jehovah's Witness. And what you're looking at right there is a clip of, ex-Jehovah's Witness documentary that will be filmed. It's going to be evidently a full-length documentary. I'm thinking at least an hour and a half long. And it's going to be really exposing the Watchtower. Friends, this could be one of the best documentaries ever produced. Now, I know there's been a lot. I'm not trying to overload everyone's donkey here, but I'm going to tell you what, these guys are really on the ball. They're sending it's either a 10 or a 12 team crew up here, and they're staying at the same hotel we're at, and they're sending them up to film the ex-witnesses. And one of the reasons they're doing this documentary is so they know so many people are leaving the Watchtower organization right now. And in view of that, they want to film and talk to some of the people. So if you're listening here on YouTube or Facebook and you want to be in this documentary, when you come into the convention, the ex-witness convention, go to the information desk and tell the people at the desk that you want to talk to the producers of the movie and tell them that you have something really to share with them that may be of interest. So give that a shot, and maybe you can be in that movie. And I know they've been reaching out to me on a weekly basis here, getting everything all ready and wanting people to participate. So if you'd like to participate in that movie, by all means, check with the information desk. So anyways, let's get that picture out of here. And the other thing I wanted to bring up too is a lot of people have written me and they said, Rick, well, what about, what's going to happen if people see us filmed? I've had a number of people who wrote me about that. And they said, wow, what is going to happen if, if our relatives see us there and, we don't want to be on your live stream and we don't want to be in the movies. Well, there's three things you can do. Go to the information desk. Now, the movie company told me to tell you people this. Go to the information desk and tell them that you don't want to be filmed. Now, there's three things you can do, three options. One, we have a special area that you will be seated in where there'll be no filming, so you don't have to worry about being seen. Number two is we have numerous masks. We have, this mask right here, for example, okay? You can see it. It's just not a full face mask, but it's enough. It's enough so nobody's going to recognize you with this on. I mean, seriously. So you're just going to be sitting there with the mask so you can still stay in the arena. So that's another option. You have a mask. And if you don't think a half mask like this would be good for you, I have full head mask as well. Cover your whole head. So I have those there as well if you really feel like someone's going to notice you. They won't notice you with the mask. And number three is I have this sign right here. I'm going to hold it up for you so you can take a look at it. I got it. It's a neon sign, and here it is right here. Now, you notice what that sign says. It says live on air. So that sign I have made up, and what I'm going to do is that's going to be on the stage, to the left of the stage. And when you see that sign light up, what I want you to do is leave the room. You're going to have 2 minutes to leave the room. So you have three options, because some people said, I'm too afraid to go to the convention because what if someone sees me? Friends, either we put you in a special area, you can put a mask on, or when you see that red neon sign live on air and you're sitting in the main auditorium where the filming is going to take place, get up. You got a couple of minutes and we'll wait for you. I'm not going to give you a deadline here, but, get up and get out of the room and then we can start filming. So I just want you to be aware of that. So we got all the bases covered here to some degree. So let's understand that. I don't want anyone, getting in trouble with their relatives or friends. So I'm trying to look at this. I'm not complaining. I'm just explaining that this is not an easy task. I didn't really realize what I bit off when I first started doing an XJW convention. There's a lot involved, folks. Here, seriously. I got to really share these thoughts with you. I've been on the phone. I'm tired. I'm not, I'm not kidding you. I'm very, very tired, but we're getting through it. But I've been up late at night, early in the morning, but late at night, people who have talks, we're going over it. We want to make sure that what's being said is going to be redeeming, socially redeeming. We want to make sure we get some really good speakers, which we do. And for example, we get Barbara Anderson, right? You all love Barbara Anderson. Well, Barbara Anderson is going to be with us, and Barbara Anderson is going to share her thoughts. You got a couple of talks, actually, that she'll be sharing with us. So we're looking forward to Barbara coming on. And also we have Fritz Springmeier. My goodness, he wrote the book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. Fritz is going to be with us as well in person with his family. And he has a talk and he wants to share some new thoughts with us. Fritz is going to share some thoughts with us that can be quite fascinating. So we're looking forward to Fritz coming on and telling us some of the newest things and telling us where the Watchtower is fitting into this. He talks about the Illuminati. You'll find him very fascinating. Now, you don't have to believe everything he says. Like anything, I want you to come and listen to what's being said, and you can draw your own conclusion. So we got him. We got a couple of motivational speakers. One man's name is Gary Cox. That's what he does for a living. He's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. He teaches people how how to get garbage out of your head and not let anyone rent space in your head. That's Gary Cox. He's got a whole program Saturday morning. He's got a 45-minute program with it. Then we have another man named Wally Wendell. Well, they call him Wally. His name is Wendell. But anyways, Wally has a talk on Saturday night. Wally is a former Jehovah's Witness that was shunned when he was 19, I believe it was, 18, 19 years old, and didn't really know how to handle it. He was disfellowshipped and shunned, and Wally wanted to go back, but then he didn't. And Wally went on to be a very successful businessman. He's been written up in Inc. magazine. As a matter of fact, in Inc. magazine, he is one of the top 200 small businesses in the United States. So he'll be talking, and we've got numerous other speakers as well. We have, well, I won't give you all away, but I've been putting posts up. You've been seeing it. If you want to really get all of the information from the convention, well, you can go to my Facebook page, even more than what's scrolling across the bottom of the 6 screens isn't right up to date. But my Facebook page, if you want to know more about the convention, go to the Facebook page and just scroll down and you'll see more. It says see more. Open up one of those see more columns and you'll read all about the convention. Well, I want to thank everyone too for wishing me a happy birthday. I'm 77 years old today. I kind of forgot about it, but everyone started reminding me of it on Facebook and here on YouTube. So thank you. You know, when you're a former Jehovah's Witness and for, 55 years of your life, you didn't really celebrate a birthday, it's not like the world, but I'm glad I have a birthday. I mean, that's a good thing for everybody, right? We all had to be born someday, one day, I should say. But anyways, thank you for that. But when you're an ex-witness, you don't think about birthdays. You really don't. And how can you? They destroyed your feelings. Some of us feel the same way about Christmas. Not that we appreciate a holiday, but you just can't get into the spirit. You know what I mean? I think many of you out there can connect with that. So that's good. All right, let's see what else we got going on. I've got the program locked up right now. It's really a shame you have to do that. I'm going to kind of unlock it. But friends, you're going to hear some vulgar language perhaps, but just kind of block your ears. I'll try to get them off. But we've got so many people who want to come in. So I'm going to open it up right now. Let's see what happens. Let's unlock it. And I have to lock it again, I will.
The conference has been unlocked.
All right, we're unlocked. So if you want to come in, you're on with us. And we got some things here to talk about. But if those drunken Bethelites come in, just pay no attention. I'll get them off. But just, maybe get the kids away because these guys use some of those vulgar language. These guys get drinking at Bethel. They don't like us on here. And what they start doing is giving us trouble. So just kind of bear with it. But let me also take a look here. I wanted to talk about something that I did today, and it's on Facebook. So I'm going to play this. Let me just first of all come back here. I got to share this with you. I want you to see something that today I did. What I'm trying to do. We've been advertising the convention pretty much all over. I've taken out ads on Facebook. Numerous ads. It's reaching thousands of people. I can't believe it. And also, I've been promoting like crazy. And anyone that shares, I really appreciate it. You share some of the stuff I put up on Facebook or YouTube, share it, and it can go out there and reach more and more people. So if you do that, I really would appreciate it. But to give you an idea, today I was out. We put some signs up. I've been putting signs up around the Boston area, and we're trying to get the local crowd. There's a lot of, like I say, this is the apostate capital of the world up here. We have a lot of apostates. So we're going to get a bunch of apostates locally that live here in the Boston area.
Hi, Rick. Let's see. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to Rick. Happy birthday to...
Yeah, well, we'll let it go there. We know that. I know what's coming next. Yeah, I know what's coming next. I really feel.
Yeah. You fucking bastard. I was singing you happy birthday, you fucking bastard. You dirty old cunt.
There you go. Yeah, there
The
you go.
conference has been locked.
You know, it's a shame we have to lock it up, but you see, you know,
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
you know, it's really, these guys are so, really great people, really wonderful people. Yeah, they really
The
are.
conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Yeah, that's friends. That's the drunken Bethelites. Do you hear the language they speak? These are Watchtower operatives that have been coming into our program. They hate what we're doing. I don't want to keep sound like a broken record, but that's what they're doing, and they do it a lot. And they hate the convention, like I say. Well, let's you lose your line of thought here once in a while too because of all of this. But I'll tell you what, we got some great programming coming up tonight. We've got, around 8 o'clock tonight, we have Stephen Unthank, or 7 o'clock. He'll be coming on about a half hour. Stephen Unthank from Australia. And Stephen knows a lot about the money, the business of the Watchtower. So he'll be coming on tonight about 7 o'clock. So we'll be bringing Steve on. Let me see if I can't get that. I wanted to share. We went out and put some signs up locally. So I wanted to share some of this with you. I want you to see it. It's quite fascinating. Let me just share here, screen share. All right. Share the screen, which we're going to do. So I'm going to go over here and put up this one right here. All right. I'm going to have you watch this. Now, this is, I went out today and I went to the Lowell, Massachusetts Kingdom Hall because I wanted to put a sign up right near the driveway of them pulling in. So just, I'll play this so you can hear it. So this we did this morning. I put a bunch of signs around this greater Boston area, and we're going to look and see if we can't get some more people to at least respond and find out what the Jehovah's Witnesses are hiding behind. So listen in. Hold on one. Well, we're outside the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses right here in Lowell, Massachusetts. And what we're going to do, we're putting a sign up. We're putting a sign up to let the witnesses know how dangerous of an organization they're in. And we're putting a sign up about our convention. Our convention, of course, is coming up. We're going to put it up nice and high so the witnesses can't pull it down. But our sign, of course, is coming up. Our convention, I should say, is coming up on August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Still alive in 2025 convention. So we're looking forward to doing that. Our good friend here is putting the sign up right now. And we're putting it up with special screws so they can't take it down. But this is right across from the Kingdom Hall, right here in Lowell, Massachusetts. So let's see what the sign says here in a second. Very good, Dave. Looks good. You can see what the sign says. I'll show it to you. So find out what Jehovah's Witnesses are hiding behind. And it talks about where the convention is going to be. I hope you can all make it. The convention up here in Lowell, Massachusetts. There's a telephone number. Give us a call. You're invited. It's free. August 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 2025. Still alive in 2025. And we... Well, let's okay, we'll stop sharing that. So what do you think of that? I mean, that's what we did today. The fellow that works for me, we went out and put some signs up. And I want to show you another. We got some bigger signs too. Those are signs we put on telephone poles. But we do have some bigger signs here. I don't have one in front of me down it. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. Here's a bigger sign. There it is right there. And you can see that. Same basic thing. Find out what Jehovah's Witnesses are hiding behind. You can see it has like a person telling a secret. And it's getting attention. So we got a bunch of the bigger signs going out all over the area, the Boston area. And we got the smaller ones going on telephone poles. And the last time I did this campaign, we got a lot of people that responded. So we're putting those out for the next couple of weeks before the convention and see if we can't get some of the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or anyone that is interested in the Jehovah's Witness aberrant movement. Then by all means, you can come to the convention. The convention's free. Anyone can come to the convention. And if you want tickets, it's still not too late to get some tickets. If you're looking for tickets for the convention, I'll try to get you into the main auditorium. If not, we'll put you into the secondary auditorium, and you'll still be able to hear it, and you can kind of peek in from time to time. But write me as soon as you can if you want some tickets. Write to jwworldnews@gmail.com, and we'll get you some tickets. We'll send them out to your email, and take a picture of the ticket. Every ticket is numbered, and we're going to have some door prizes, some very, really, really good prizes that we're going to give away at the convention. So by all means, make sure you know what ticket number you have. Take a picture of it when you get it and bring it to the convention with you, and you'll be assured of having a seat in the main auditorium. We'll get you right in the main auditorium. We only have enough seats in there for 350 people. So if there's more than 350 that show up, and we could get as many as 500, sometimes you don't know when you're doing this stuff online. But if we get over 350, we'll have to put some people in an auxiliary room that is adjacent to the main auditorium. So that's what we'll do. But hopefully, so far so good. We're getting a lot of people writing me and wanting to come to the convention. I hope you're one of them. And if you can't come in person, we will be doing it, of course, as I said earlier, on live stream. I know there's people who want to come into the call tonight, but we have it locked up. So there's not too much I can do about that. So just kind of hang in there, and we'll be able to hopefully get this unlocked soon. All right, let's a couple of things. We got a few guests coming on tonight. So we got Stephen Unthank, as I said earlier. He's coming on in about 20 minutes. And then also about an hour from now, we have another man. He's scheduled to come on. Hopefully he will. That's what you do sometimes. You schedule things and people forget the time zones and what have you. But we do have another man come on. Now, we know that there's a lot of Jehovah's Witness men who are pedophiles. And we know that there's many of them, thousands of them, child molesters in the Watchtower, men. But we have a man coming on tonight. Well, when he was a little boy, he was molested by a Jehovah's Witness sister. So sisters, yes, there are indeed pedophile women. And it's not the first time I've heard of it. But this man coming on tonight, his name is Dean. And if all goes well, Dean is going to share his thoughts with us tonight on what happened to him when he was a young boy in the Jehovah's Witness religion. So anyways, we'll wait and see what happens, and hopefully he'll come on with us. But let me get to the news here. A few things I wanted to talk to you guys tonight about. So let me get to the news. Let me get in here. I did want to bring this up. I don't know if you guys have been seeing some of these pictures coming in. They're all over YouTube and Facebook. The conventions, the Jehovah's Witness conventions are tanking. If I was an official of the Watchtower, I'd be very, very concerned. I really, really would be. I'd say, what is going on? Why all these empty seats? What are we doing wrong? Well, all you guys know what they're doing wrong. The Watchtower organization is causing so many problems in people's families. They're now starting to realize it. And also with all of these changes they had, it's not going over really good. You got the changes of men wearing beards, men not really having to wear ties, women wearing slacks, changing the rules on disfellowshipping. You have all of these changes taking place. You have the idea, well, not the idea, but the actual way of recording time is now, it's like a check the box time. When you and I were witnesses, we had to go out and hit the pavement and put an hour in. We recorded an hour. But now you just have to just say, they'll come and ask you. The service overseer will say, hey, Brother Farron, you got any time in this month? Oh, yeah, just check the box. 5 minutes. How long did you speak? If you spoke for a minute, you're a publisher. So with all of this changing, it's causing a lot of divisions in the kingdom halls all over. And the reason is you have a clash. You have the older Jehovah's Witnesses that have been inculcated. They have been indoctrinated with all of this Watchtower policy of what you had to do, what you couldn't do, what you could do. And it's so ingrained in their head. And now all of a sudden the Watchtower in the last couple of years is changing all of this. You can do this now where you couldn't do it before. And a lot of the older witnesses are saying, well, wait a minute. I mean, aren't you supposed to be the faithful and discreet slave? Aren't you supposed to be giving us meat in due season? Aren't you giving us what Jehovah God is giving you, and then you give it to us? Well, that's what many older ones are thinking. They're saying, well, how could you have given us these instructions before, and now you're saying it's different? Did Jehovah change his mind? So you have a lot of the older Jehovah's Witnesses that have some difficulty with these new changes in policy. Now here's what's happening too with the young ones. I mean, we know a lot of young Jehovah's Witnesses are packing their bags. There's nothing in there. So the Jehovah's Witness organization, i.e. Watchtower, they're doing everything they possibly can to try to attract and keep young ones, I should say. They're trying to keep young ones in. So that's why they kind of allowed for the beards. That's why they more or less take the ties off. I mean, what young guy wants to wear a tie, right? Strangled around his neck. And then the women, they wear slacks. That's what women wear these days. So they're doing that to kind of cozy up to the younger people and keep them in and try to even gather some new ones. And then of course, too, we learn about the toasting. One time you couldn't toast, and now you can toast. If you go to a wedding and people raise their glasses and all clink them together, you can now do that. But you couldn't do that before as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So we see big changes. So there's divisions. So you have the younger ones, they love all the changes. And then you have the older ones that say, no, I don't like it. So we have a lot of people that are on the edge, a lot of people right now, PIMQs, we call them, they're questioning the Watchtower. So maybe you're one of them. Maybe you're listening in here tonight. Maybe you're one of them. So what we have here now is we have so many empty seats. I'm going to show you a picture. Let me see if I can't get your picture up here. Hold on one second. Let me scroll down here, get a picture. I should have one here. Take a look at this. This picture was sent to me today. That is an empty stadium, folks. That is an empty stadium. That's the American Express Stadium in England. And that stadium holds 131,000 people. Now, there's the convention. What you see, that group of people, is what you get. That's it. I'm wondering, what is the Watchtower even thinking? Well, why were they renting arenas so big? I mean, this looks ridiculous to have that many. I would say there's maybe 3,000 people tops out of a 31,000 person stadium. Would you be concerned if you're an official of the Watchtower, governing body member, the treasurer? Well, wouldn't you be concerned if you're looking out at that audience and you're going, what's going on here? But that's not the only one. This is happening pretty much all over. I showed you guys some pictures last week. Well, let's take a look at this one. Well, that's last year. This one, I don't have last week's done it, but it was also another empty stadium in Britain. Hey, United Kingdom, I'm telling you that they're having trouble. They're having big trouble. Lots and lots of people are leaving the Jehovah's Witness religion over there, and rightfully so. It's happening here too. But the Watchtower has to keep, covering it up. They got to keep lying as they always would do. They got to make it seem like, Jehovah's organization's growing unbelievable. And it really isn't, but they have to give you that image. And think about it. How many people really would want to remain a Jehovah's Witness if it wasn't growing? Now, you might say, well, there's no problem with that, Rick. There's people that belong to other churches, and, they still stay, even though some of these churches aren't growing. Well, let me tell you, let me just, I'm going to give you some food for thought. I want to give you food for thought. The Jehovah's Witness, first of all, it's not like a normal religion. These people do not have to go out and pound the pavement in a normal church. They don't have to go out with their carts. They don't have to be in people's faces. They don't have to go through all of that. So that's why I'm saying it's not normal. But see, what's happening in the way I'm looking at this, is simply this. If you're going to go out and service, and they want you to, even though it's a checkbox ministry, you don't have to report your hours anymore. But if you're going to have to get up every Saturday or Sunday and go out and service. And even if you're a pioneer, and if you're not getting people to come in, if you're knocking on doors or you're doing witnessing on the street, wherever you are, and you're not recruiting anybody, that's going to be pretty disappointing. And that's what's happening right now. So in other words, you say, well, wait a minute. Well, why am I even going out if we're not growing? It doesn't seem like we're bringing people into this organization. So a lot of people are questioning that right now. You know, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you work to be one. You're going to hustle your butt off to really stay a Jehovah's Witness. So this is going to be a question as they look around that empty stadium I just showed you. Well, what are people going to think? What would you think? What would you think if you went to that stadium and you saw all those empty seats? What would be the first thing running through your head? Geez, I'll tell you, I think that you'd say, are we tanking? Is this organization going to make it? Well, what's going on? Where is everybody? That's what I'd be thinking. Am I missing something? Do all of these people who are on here, do they know something I don't know? Don't you think you'd put your antenna up? Don't you think you'd want to hear stuff? Don't you think you'd want to look online? Why are our conventions empty? They're empty because this religion has expired. This religion is on death row. Or to put it even a little kinder, it's in the intensive care ward right now. It's in intensive care. I say the Watchtower is dead. It just hasn't fallen over yet. Really, it's got nowhere to go. Take them off the grill. They're cooked. It's unbelievable. So anyways, that's my feelings on that. And I don't really know what's going to happen in the future. Let me grab this telephone right here. This might be, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Let me grab this. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Rick.
Yes.
Hey, I know that voice anywhere. This is Kim Jackson. This is
Yeah, in fact, I'll have to call you back. I'm right in the middle of my radio show right now, Kim. I'll call.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll call you back later on tonight. Thank you. Yeah.
Call me when you get a chance.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Yeah, so what it is people, they call you. I thought it might have been, see, well, why do I have to answer the phone? I know sometimes it looks rude, but I got to answer the phone because, you know, I don't know who's calling me. I got two people that are trying to come on the program, so sometimes they call me to get through. But I'll tell you what, I mean, would you like to do a podcast? Yes.
Hi, this is Grow Faith here.
Yes, Grow Faith.
So I think that you said that you kind of softened it up a bit that the Watchtower the conference has been unlocked. Intensive care, because in intensive care, it means that they just might recover. What we need to say is Watchtower is in palliative care. Palliative care means very soon, at some time, you're going to die. So that's where the Watchtower is right now. They're in palliative care. And if conventions continue the way it is with the attendance at a low rate, at a low amount, I can guarantee
in a world where warriors are made and legends are forged,
the conference has been locked.
that maybe next year or in the years to come, they are going to have everything online.
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Yeah, well, I agree. I agree with you, Grow Faith. So you do see everything going online, huh? Okay, Grow Faith, you still with us? I think you might have got locked there. Hold on, let me put you back on.
Yes.
All right, go ahead. You're back on with us. Yeah, go ahead, Grow Faith.
Yeah, I'm still with you. Yeah, so from, this lack of attendance is mostly in first world countries. I don't know for Africa. I can't speak for Africa. I can speak for the Caribbean. They still have, quite a bit of persons going into the convention. So it's not as when you take a picture here in Canada or here in the UK or here in the US and we show people, what's going on with the convention. I still have almost the islands in the Caribbean, but who knows? Very soon when these people start realizing what's going on in the UK, what's going on in other countries, bigger countries, maybe they might start questioning what's going on with the organization. And who knows, they too might wake up and eventually leave. That's my take on it, Rick.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of sense, Grow Faith. I really do. I really do. My goodness, it's unreal. Thank you. Yeah, no, in fact, they got to start doing something different. That's what they have to do if they want to stay in business because, hey, it's a business. It's all it is, a business. And if you can't keep the revenue coming in, you can't keep selling your product, then you go out. So they're on the way out right now. Yep. They're on their way out right now. Yep. Yeah, so anyways, I got the drunken Bethelites. They're not only trying to disrupt the program here, but they're calling me on my telephone. That's the noise you hear in the background. So that's what's going on. And they hate the fact that we do this program every Saturday night. We have been put on alert here that these are people. Let's do this right now. You can see what they're trying to do. They're really trying to disrupt everything. Let me shut my phone off, folks. Let me do that. So they're trying to disrupt everything here tonight. They're getting so concerned about the convention. So isn't that a good thing? One of these days I'm going to have a helper here in the studio with me. I do have a bunch of people coming to the convention, but don't worry about the Bethelites. Don't worry about the Bethelites coming on. I gotta hide my phone. Hold on. All right, I just put that in the other room. Yeah, in fact, I'm flattered. I'm really flattered that we have these people trying to come in and trying to bother us. That's showing me. And I mean, well, how else would you really read it? How else would you really understand it? The Watchtower, like I said earlier, they hate this. But okay, enough of that. Let me just close the door. Hold on. Yeah, it fascinates me. Sorry for the disruption here, but it's a live show. You know, you get disrupted and you can handle it. Friends, you guys can all handle it. You all know what the Watchtower does to people. They can't. The Watchtower, they can't stand the fact. They cannot stand the fact that people who leave are happy. They hate that. You're out there. You're a happy person. I can tell. We got a very happy audience, and you got a very intelligent audience. And you guys can read right through it. You know darn well. You probably have relatives that are shunning you, and I'm sure they hear about you going on trips and celebrating holidays, and they're the sad ones. We've got the freedom. They're the sad ones. They're not really enjoying life like they should. Well, you're on JW World News. This is the news the Watchtower doesn't want you talking about, but we talk about it every single Saturday night. And we've been doing it for 20 years, and we are here because you are here. But just getting back to the empty seats, what I'm thinking, when you see empty seats like that, you got to really say to yourself, man, is the Watchtower paying attention? And you all can remember when you couldn't even find a seat at the convention. You could not even go there and find a seat. So today it's altogether different. And, this whole organization is changing so rapidly. And like Grow Faith, who was just on there talking, said, eventually they're going to have to just go on their live streaming and televangelistic type way of producing their so-called cult ways of connecting with you. So they're going to have to do it all through live streaming because they're not going to do it through conventions. And can you imagine the revenue that's being lost? Those conventions are a generator of revenue without any question of doubt. They make money, big time money. We had a person on our program years ago, and her husband was one of the administrators at the convention. And this woman's name was Lorene Stanley. And her husband was a big-time witness convention administrator back in the 1980s. And she was saying the money that these conventions brought in and she would count it in the back room. Now, this is back in the 80s. And she says, Rick, you couldn't believe they were bringing money in like you couldn't believe. $50,000 back then, like nothing, she said. And they wouldn't tell, when that accountant comes out at the end of the convention, brothers and sisters, we want to thank you in advance, but we do have a deficit here of $3,000 or $4,000. That usually is what the deficit was, $4,000. So we're thanking you in advance, and if you could help us with that, Jehovah would really appreciate it. You remember those comments, right? Well, this Lorraine Stanley, she said, well, when she was counting it, one of the brothers who was in charge of, giving the accountant the information, he said, just hide that other bucket. They had baskets. Like baskets you put apples in? That's what they were putting the money in. They would take those contribution boxes and they would dump them into these like bushel baskets. And it was filled with dollar bills and $20 bills and $10 bills. And she said that he came in, he said, don't count that one yet. Yeah, don't count that one yet, because it would add way more than they wanted to say. So he went out on the stage and said they're in a deficit. But see, they lie. They lie right through their teeth. And she was on here talking all about it. Unbelievable. But can you imagine the money the Watchtower is losing? They don't have the conventions working for them anymore. It's going to be unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. I'm going to show you another picture. I want to show you another picture here tonight that might get you thinking. The Watchtower is doing everything they can to try to attract people. Let me get into my picture repertoire here. Let's get in here. Okay, this is a picture I want to show you. Where is it? Oh, down it. Oh, let me get it up here. 1 second. I gotta download it. Let me see if I can get this up for you. Okay, let me drag it down here. Okay, just empty a very cringe moment. Let's see if we can open this up. All right, this is a picture I want to show you, the Tour de France. All right, take a look at this picture. Let's put it up here right now. Look at that. That is at the Tour de France. Everything that's going on right now. And what do you see there popping up along the bicycle race route? JW.org. Friends, they are going to the Super Bowl with their carts. They're going to all of these big, large events trying to reach people. And here they are at the Tour de France bicycle race, holding up JW.org. These people are desperate. They're trying everything they possibly can to get people to come to JW.org. That's their new way of preaching. They don't really preach like we used to, right? We went to the door. We knew what scriptures to use. Now all they do is come to jw.org. That's the way they do it. So let's get that. So this is par for the course, folks. These are the things. This is why I share this with you. Now you might say, well, Rick, I don't see anything wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that. Hey, I do. I mean, maybe I'm an old timer. Maybe I'm a dinosaur, so to speak. But, we never would do that. And I know the Watchtower has to change and do things differently. But, that's what Christendom used to do. That's what Christendom used to do. We love Jesus, billboards with Jesus. The Watchtower used to condemn that. No, that's not how we put the message out. We go door to door, and we're the only ones doing it. But now the witnesses are doing the same thing. They're putting signs out like the other Christians were doing that they used to condemn for doing it. Now they're doing the same thing. They're making that JW.org like it's some type of an idol. So seriously. And it's so despicable. It's disgusting. They're hoping to get people to go to jw.org. And I suppose they do have some stragglers going there. But, let me just say this. Let me just for the record. With the internet today, and we call the internet the great equalizer. But with the internet today, so suppose you're a husband and you go off to work during the day, and all of a sudden you get some Jehovah's Witnesses. They knock on your door. Your wife is home with the kids. So the wife opens the door, And Jehovah's Witness say, "Oh, hi, good to see you. Good to meet you today. My name is such and such. I'm with the local congregation, and I wanted to share some good news with you." Now, in today's day and age, don't you think that woman or the husband, when he comes home from work, would punch Jehovah's Witnesses into the computer if his wife was interested in joining? Of course they would. And they say, "Wait a minute, this is a cult. These people are hiding pedophiles. These people shun." I mean, they could not be getting good results. Their ministry has got to be in the toilet. I can't see how people could be attracted. So what they're hoping to do, they're hoping to reach people in other ways. They're hoping to reach people in other ways and be able to get people to connect with them through these other ways of doing it, through jw.org, rather than going from door to door. Okay, so we do have Stephen Unthank's going to be coming on here very shortly. I just saw him. Now he's from Australia. And Stephen, he knows where the bones are buried. He's been around for a long time, and we're going to bring him on very shortly. In fact, I'll tell you what we'll do. I just got a couple other things I wanted to mention, and then we'll go to Stephen Unthank over in Australia. Let me take a look here and see what else we got in the news. I wanted to talk about this tonight as well. What's been happening since COVID is the Jehovah's Witness religion has been suffering a great deal. Well, we all know that. I mean, even the witnesses know it. The ex-witnesses know it. COVID really put the damper. It kind of put the kibosh on Jehovah's Witness expanding. So what we got going here now is a lot of people are finding their congregation is dead. Now, how do you define a dead congregation? Well, when I was a witness, what I would think of as a dead congregation, the congregation I went to was kind of a lively congregation. You know, we had a lot of get-togethers, we had a lot of activities, and people like this, they would like to come to the congregation I went to because we had a fun congregation. And but then there were what I would say back then some dead congregations. And the dead congregation didn't do much, didn't have any fun. And that's what I would classify as the dead congregation, 30, 40 years ago. But my classification or my definition of a dead congregation is different than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. A dead congregation today is dead. I mean, it's like zombies. There's very few people there. It's the same old people that are commenting. A lot of people aren't commenting. A lot of people aren't going out in service. There's empty seats all over the Kingdom Hall. And I mean, it's dead. It really, really is dead. So this is what I got information coming in here to the 6 screens that is explaining this to me. People are sending me information and saying what their congregation, how it's changed since COVID. People really aren't participating in the ministry. The meeting attendance is way down. People just don't have the spirit. Now, when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses like you, there were many meetings I didn't like at all. There were some that were good. At least they could liven them up a little bit. But today, friends, I have to tell you, the reports coming into the 6 screens, the Jehovah's Witness congregations are dead. And that just leads us to what we were just talking about when Grow Faith called in. It's going to become streaming. The Watchtower organization, in order to keep people connected to some degree, eventually they might even do away with physically meeting in a Kingdom Hall. It might just be all meeting online because you have to really get those seats full. You can't have all those empty seats at the Kingdom Halls. You can't have those empty seats at the conventions. Hey, let's take a look. I believe Stephen Unthank is on here with us. Let's see if we can't get Stephen. I'm going to bring Stephen on to do a little check. Let's add Steve. Hello, Steve. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Steve? Okay, we're having a little hard time with Steve.
Hi, Rick.
Oh, there you are. Okay, we got you now. Yeah, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, good. Well, glad you come in all the way from Australia, 8,000 miles away. But here we are with the modern day of doing business. Isn't this something? Well, Steve, I wanted to have you on. We are going to have you as one of the speakers via internet coming in to the convention in 2 weeks. And obviously, I've known you for a long time. You've been at it. You have a great website. You've been trying to expose the Jehovah's Witness for many years. How long have you been exposing the witnesses, Steve?
As an advocate for somewhere between 10 and 14 years. I did start a little bit before that, but that was mostly in relation to myself or my family. But about 14 years, maybe, yeah, around that's a long time, actually.
Well, let's go back to the scene of the accident, Steve. When did you become one of Jehovah's Witnesses?
Shortly after I was born, my father got baptized at a district convention, or we'll call it district convention, district assembly back at that time, and that exposed my life to the Jehovah's Witnesses. But my mother never was. She was a Presbyterian. She still is one. And at the age of 17, I got baptized. And so I was born in 1968, so February. So my father was baptized in March 1968. And in 1985, at the age of 17, I got baptized at the Integrity Keepers Convention. And it was a very strange baptism. It wasn't your normal type of baptism. But yeah, that's the story in of itself.
Well, there you go. So you've been a witness for a while. Now, you're an activist. You're probably one of the top activists in the whole country of Australia over there. So what really made you want to become an activist? A lot of people leave the Jehovah's Witness religion and they just kind of go away quietly and they don't want too much to do about it. But there are people like you. So what's the formula there, Steve? What made you become an activist?
Well, I understand what you mean by activists. My activities actually started doing advocacy. I became aware of legislative changes that had been made in my state in Australia, and I was concerned that the Jehovah's Witnesses were not going to comply with that. I was aware that at the time their legal counsel was Vincent Toole, and from my personal experience, he wasn't a very competent man. And I also knew that the Jehovah's Witnesses branch office had a policy where they don't engage third parties to obtain legal advice. It's very hard to hire a law firm or a lawyer or an attorney and ask them, how do we lie in this case? How do we lie to the government? That's not going to happen. I also knew that the governing body required that certain expenditures of money be approved by them first. I later learned that that was the publishing committee. So I had this very basic understanding of all of the holes in their system. And this then was applied to the new child protection laws that had come in. And it was very clear the Jehovah's Witnesses were non-compliant, not going to apply, and had to be forced to. So I'd advocated for that. And then I took forceful action to make that a reality and was successful in having them comply with the laws. Although it did take 3.5 years actually of very hard advocacy work to get that done. And then I just continued in helping other people with their issues.
Well, good for you, Steve. No doubt. I mean, you really did make a difference, and you've been doing it for many years, as you say. Now, I know that over there you've done a lot of research. You've looked into some of the finance that goes on in the Jehovah's Witness movement, and I've always said here that the Watchtower is nothing more than a business masquerading as a religion. But I'm sure you see the same thing there. So tell us about some of the financial situations that take place in the Watchtower, Steve.
Well, it's very interesting when one does research into the history of the financial structure of the Watchtower Society. my research led me back to the commencement of the current system that the Watchtower Society uses within its corporation. I trace everything back to its foundation, and that occurred in the 1950s with the president Nathan Knorr, Grant Suter, and Hayden Covington. They devised, between the three of them, a system for operating the Jehovah's Witnesses financially worldwide, and that formed the foundation of the current system. However, their system that they introduced was flawed. Legally flawed, possibly. Morally flawed, absolutely. But in their setting up their system, they put in place what we have today. And it's not sustainable. Hence, as we've seen recently, the need to restructure the entire financial arrangements of the Jehovah's Witnesses organisation worldwide and introduce a number of financial institutions in Ireland to assist in the managing of that.
Right now, we know that we have talked about the financial advisory business that the Watchtower set up in Ireland, and we know that one of the hold on one second.
The conference has been locked.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Sure.
What it is?
The conference has been unlocked. The conference has been locked.
Oh, what it is, Steve? Tonight, as we're getting closer to the convention here, we have people come in here that are Watchtower operatives, and we've been put on notice that what it is. We had one that did confide with us and told us what was going on as a Bethelite, that we have people that come into the sixth screen to try to disrupt it. So they come in and they use the most filthy language that you could ever imagine, Steve. So I have to lock up the call so that we have a telephone line. We call it our radio network, but we have to lock that up because these guys come in. And the closer we're getting to the convention, the worse they hate it. And as I was telling the audience earlier, see, we're not supposed to have any fun at all, Steve. We are mentally diseased. We are agents of Satan, the devil, and we're not supposed to have fun. We're not supposed to get together, especially for this convention coming up. It's got the Watchtower like a bunch of mad hornets, like they shook their cage up. So we got a bunch of these guys coming in tonight, and they couldn't get through to me here because I can lock this call. But my telephone, my personal phone, I have, they even got a hold of that and calling me up on that. I had to put the phone in the other room because it kept dinging. So that's what's going on. So let's get back to my good friend, Steve. All right, Steve. So anyways, we talk this in Ireland. They have the Watchtower, that is, just I'd say in the last 6 months, maybe in the last year, they set up a financial advisory business where they, and you correct me if I'm wrong on this, Steve, but it's a business that was set up, and what it does is it manages people's assets. And, it's not an uncommon thing. Many people who own stocks and who own real estate or anything of value, many times they put it in the hands of a financial advisor. And the financial advisor will try to advise them on how to make more money with the money that's invested. So can you tell us a little bit about the money that has been invested into this Watchtower advisory business?
Well, apart from having to satisfy the government with enough funds to operate what they're doing, I believe that was around 5 million euros or pounds, dollars. I think it's roughly about the same. 3 companies were set up, and I can, from the research that I've gathered, they are now live. They have been issued with a SWIFT monetary code, which allows for money transfers to be directly made into Miner. And that means that effectively, as it is right now, they're operational. They're able to accept monies. I don't have access to their financial accounts, so I can't say whether they have got money in their accounts that they've received. But I do have an account myself, and I am able to, if I wish to, send them $100 through their accounting network just to see how the system works. But I'm not really interested. I'd rather spend that $100 on something more entertaining.
Well, I heard, and in fact, it was substantiated. There's a newspaper or a magazine, I'm not sure what, but in Ireland, and they were the ones that kind of even broke this story per se about the Jehovah's Witness Watchtower with this financial advisory firm. And according to that article, now that would be like the Wall Street Journal here, that reports on assets and stock market information, all of that. But they brought up in this Ireland business newspaper that the Watchtower has in this advisory firm $5 billion. Did you hear that?
I have heard people discuss that amount of money. I've got no way to verify that myself, but the governing body did set up a GIF. GIF is its abbreviation. It's called a Global Investment Fund, and that receives the money that comes in from congregations and then from the branch office. Generally, those monies go to a cash management center. There's two major ones in operation around the world. One comes and operates out of Australia, and that covers the Asia Pacific region. It's actually a pseudo congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. And that means it's a congregation that isn't a congregation. It's not a spiritual congregation. It has no elders, no ministerial servants, no publishers. But it trades throughout the Asia Pacific region as CMC Asia Pacific. And that's registered with banking institutions to transfer monies only within the Asia Pacific region. But that's a very big region. That includes New Zealand, Australia, all of Asia, such as Japan, South Korea, but also includes the west coast of South America and the west coast of North America, which includes Canada and the United States itself. So it operates in that region, and it exchanges monies and sends monies back to the Global Investment Fund. There is a second CMC, Cash Management Center, and that operates in Germany, and it's called CMC Europe. And that had to be registered with the German government. Initially, they applied on the registration to have it called CMC Europe. However, the German government required them to explain what the word CMC means, because it's an abbreviation. So they had to put that down in their application forms, that it was a cash management center. These are all administered under the control of the governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they've been operating for a very, very long time. And that covers all of Europe, Scandinavia, and it also includes the United Kingdom and Ireland. And Ireland now is where the Global Investment Fund is bringing all its main monies through that system there. And that's a very smart move. It's a very financially firm move. I have had some, let's just say, forensic accounting done on the processes and how they operate. There are some weaknesses in the system, namely in that the overall beneficiaries of the finances are actually the governing body members themselves. That in itself isn't unlawful. It's just something that they've inherited from the system that was originally devised by Knorr, Suter, and Covington. So that in itself has created a little bit of a mess, but I'm sure that they'll work their way through that as time goes on.
Well, that's fascinating, Steve. Now, how to just to ballpark it, do you think the organization, Watchtower organization right now, do you think that they're relatively financial stable? Do you believe they have more cash than ever? Well, what's your feelings on that?
If we were, or one of us was to examine their public statements from around 2014 onwards, so that's the last 10 years, you'll find a consistent theme that they don't have money. That's the hard currency. Their think statements that many of us have heard is, in doing the math, we have realized that the amount of money going out is greater than the amount coming in. And where does the money go out to? You see, there's no other organization that's associated with Watchtower. There's nowhere for it to go. So the only place it can go is operational expenses and overheads. And as we saw in the Watchtower's annual general meeting a few years ago now, governing body member Samuel Hurd had I guess he drew the short straw in this matter to make the announcements about all of the Bethel layoffs around the world. And that was something that I don't think he enjoyed based on his facial expressions. And I don't think he believed himself personally that what he was stating was the truth. They use a lot of substitute words to describe serious issues in regards to where the money is going. But what we do know is that each time they sell off their major branch office or major buildings, they still need money to build their new complex. A good example of that was in London when they sold the IBSA house and all of their branch offices around the London area, as well as properties that they had. They had way more money than they needed to build their new branch facilities, but they still needed more donations. So the big question is, where does that money go? Does it just vanish? Does it go somewhere? Well, there are people at the moment looking into that, but they are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, so they have a motive to try and find where money is going. In a lot of those areas, if information is presented to me, I try to analyze it and look for information or look for supporting evidence that disproves everything that's presented to me, rather than look for things that are easy to prove. Because wishful thinking is very easy to prove, but hard documents, it's something that you can't really question.
Well, something that caught my attention when you were just giving a little narrative there is you said that at least it appears at this point that the Watchtower has more money going out than coming in. I mean, you're pretty firm on that statement?
Well, that's what they've wanted the members of the Jehovah's Witnesses to believe and accept. They haven't repeated that statement for quite a number of years, but they have been consolidating their assets and selling off vast quantities of real estate. These sorts of things have taken place in Australia, and we were able to get information from the Jehovah's Witnesses as to their explanations of where the money went. But what was interesting in that is that the Jehovah's Witnesses provided that information to the Australian government. And in explaining their financials, they used a newly established corporation that wasn't a party to any of the concerns over financial dealings. And it proceeded to explain what unrelated corporations were engaged in. And that would be the equivalent of, say, a large corporation like News Corp setting up a small little business in Arizona that's not related to News Corp, just maybe owned by a member of the Murdoch family. And then that corporation or little entity with $500 in the bank proceeds to speak on behalf of all the financial dealings of News Corp with complete absolute authority. And that's not possible. They can be a media hired entity as a spokesperson, but not when it comes to making submissions to governments and claiming that they have the authority to speak on behalf of. So that's one of the things that we were able to review, that the Watchtower claims, and analyze what they said. And what we found was that they didn't answer the questions or the allegations that were put to them. They deflected. And you can learn more from omission than commission. And that's one of the things that they have as part of their system that they can't get themselves out of. It's what they leave out of the situation and what they omit, and particularly when they start to use informal fallacies to explain, particularly the straw man fallacy. That's a very favorite one when it comes to finance. Pick a small congregation that they've used to really send their money to another congregation for building, and use that as an example, and then try to apply that to everywhere. It doesn't really cut it in the real world, but maybe in their pseudo-religious world, they believe it themselves.
Well, what's fascinating to me is, of course, the Watchtower, as we know, is a private organization. They don't really have to divulge their information to the public. But at least here in America, they don't have to really they have to report their funds to the government. But in Australia, they make it public, do they not? Do I have that right? In Australia, in some countries, it's public information on the amount of money Watchtower is spending. Do I have that right? Yeah.
That's correct. In Australia, the larger corporations have to reveal their turnovers and their expenditures. And it's always interesting that they develop their own terminology for explaining where the money goes. For example, overseas aid and donations. Now, Jehovah's Witnesses do not donate money to anybody else. They don't even donate money to Jehovah's Witnesses. So these donations were donations to overseas entities controlled by the governing body. It's not illegal. But what is interesting is that they're now having to change where the money is going and be more transparent under our changing laws in Australia of what's called associated entities. They have to now start disclosing associated entities. There's a similar system in the United Kingdom where International Bible Students Association and Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Britain have to disclose their financials. And that's readily available to the public through the Companies House website or through the Charity Commission website for those entities that are charities. So that way they were able to be financially tracked. Each congregation in the United Kingdom used to be required to publish their financials to the Charity Commission. But now that they've all been absorbed into one giant entity, they no longer have to do that.
Well, it's fascinating. And just as a thought here, I was mentioning earlier before you came on about the conventions that we see taking place here in the United States and even in England, and so many seats are empty. Now, the conventions used to be a really big fundraiser for the Jehovah's Witnesses. I mean, they took in a lot of money. So obviously the conventions aren't the revenue source that they would hope for. And like you say, they're getting it through real estate. But even to think in terms of money going out at the Watchtower, we realize they are taking it in, I'm sure, from real estate, from people leaving them inheritance. Even the Watchtower, as we know, has a lot of stock in various companies. Now, what would you think would be one of the biggest expenditures that they're spending out on? Now, they don't have to pay taxes. I know at least here in America, and I would believe they don't have to pay taxes in Australia. I'm not sure on that. But what would you think would be one of the biggest expenditures of the Watchtower?
Well, the Watchtower Society and International Bible Students Association, abbreviated to IBSA or IBSA, they operate on a live-work model that was introduced many, many decades ago. And what that means is the people that work for them live at the same premises where they work. And that is a model that's not financially sustainable in the modern world. It's not possible for the Jehovah's Witness organization to sustain all of its members of the religious order unless there's a drastic reduction in overheads. And we've seen that over the last few years with cutbacks in Bethel branches, reassignment to the field, which is a nice word of saying you've been laid off without your social security net. So the main biggest expense that they have each year, which was heading towards, I think, approximately $250 million a year, was their overheads just to support themselves. And with a big reduction in staff, they're able to heavily reduce that. It's still a big overhead, but that is a fair analysis of their financial expenditure, the biggest is feeding and housing themselves. That's their single biggest expense. And that can drain everything. For example, when there was some sales in the United Kingdom, they raised 170 million pounds for some sale assets. That is only enough to cover the Jehovah's Witnesses operating expenses for their staff for 1 year. So they need a lot of money. They need a lot. The other biggest expenditure that they have, and that's really investment, is in real estate. So that produces a net return, a profit for when they flip their projects, but really the overheads and staff. And what's interesting about that is there was an article written on the internet a while back, and it likened the Jehovah's Witness institution to a self-licking ice cream. It only exists to perpetrate itself or perpetuate itself. So perpetrate meaning its religious side, perpetuate meaning its financial side. So in that whole situation, when you put everything together there, it exists to exist. It doesn't really exist for any other purpose. But it's a religious organization, and religion has a lot of protection in the area of their financial affairs.
Well, that's obviously that's true, not only over there, but here as well. So many proponents of individuals that would be wanting churches to pay taxes, and they're saying that they really, should do that. But of course, they're protected under certain statutes of law here in the United States, where they don't have to pay any tax, property tax, sales tax, income tax, any tax at all. And so, it's set in place that the Watchtower really has been able to make a lot of money tax-free. But, in fact, you did hit the nail on the head when you're talking about the biggest expense would be, operating their staff, having their staff come and work and take care of them. That can run into the millions and millions and millions of dollars. And we do know, we have information coming in here to Six Screens all the time, that there's a general movement right now to not have as many Bethelites. They have been laying some off, but rather than even put a call out for wanting more and more to come and be with them permanently and live there, they have a lot of commuter Bethelites. That they have people that, just commute there like they would going to work for a factory somewhere. So that's what's going on. So they're trying to cut back expenses as much as they can. But see, this is what I always bring up here in the Six Screens. And we do talk about the money aspects of the Watchtower from time to time. And, the Watchtower tries to continually express to the general public and to the witness world mostly how they're growing, and they're unbelievably gaining Jehovah's favor, and our organization is on the move. And that is not true. That is not true at all, because, how can it be true when they're selling Kingdom Halls off and they're consolidating Kingdom Halls? And I often use the example, for example, General Motors. They sell Chevrolets. And a lot of people buy Chevrolets in America, and I'm sure they buy them in Australia too. And now if General Motors was closing dealerships down, Chevrolet dealerships where they sell Chevrolets, and, every week you're reading about them closing down, you wouldn't think that Chevrolet and General Motors was growing that much. You'd say, gee, that they're having some trouble. So this is really why I wonder the witnesses can't put two and two together. When you see all these, right in my neighborhood here, right here where I live in Massachusetts, USA, I've counted 7, 8, 10 congregations that have gone out of business, so to speak. They're now churches, and they're mostly churches. They sold them off to different churches in the area. So how can an organization say they're growing, but at the same time they're selling Kingdom Halls off? It doesn't make sense, does it, Stephen?
It doesn't make sense, but it can be plausible if one continually moves the goalposts changes the game and rewrites the rules. You can produce growth anywhere. For example, you can say our organization is growing because last year we had $1 million in debt. This year we've got $2 million in debt. So our debt's growing. So therefore we've got growth. It's not really what it means. But with the Jehovah's Witnesses, they can just change the meaning of words on the fly, get rid of publishers, get rid of members, call them adherents, change the field service requirement hours to just ticking a box, and claim growth. It's in the past, I remember years ago speaking to an elder who was assigned to do the congregation records for field service. And he said the most difficult thing that he had to face was when people didn't put their field service report in, and he had to create a guesstimate of what they undertook in the field ministry for that month. And so he would say that he took an average of their last 3 months for hours, their last 3 months for magazine placement, their last 3 months for books and return visits, and then he put that down. But now he doesn't have that problem anymore. If they don't put a report in, he can just tick the box. Very simple. A parent doesn't put a report in. An elder can quite easily assume that they at least prayed once with their children or with somebody else and just tick the box for them. So growth is probably imaginary, but that's there's a lot of imagination in the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, you're right with that. And of course, understanding the business of the Watchtower. It's the same thing with these CEOs that come on with, companies they have in the stock market. And of course, when you have to report, quarterly, how much money your company's making and whether you're growing and what the guidance for the future is, a lot of these guys will kind of cook the books as well. As the old saying, Steve, that figures don't lie, but liars can figure. I mean, you can cook the books very easily. But the point I'm trying to make, these CEOs will tell you how great their company is because they want you to keep your stock. They don't want you to sell it. So it's the same thing with the Watchtower. They gotta at least make it sound like, man, we're doing fine. But I think in terms of just all the cutbacks the Watchtower has made, and just let's go in 20 years. I mean, it's a long time to follow them, but that's about how long I've been exposing the witnesses. But we've seen so many changes in Watchtower that, it has to be at least noticeable. And, at one time, of course, the Kingdom Farm, for example, that's what they called it, was Kingdom Farm. But they used to have their own animals. They had their own crops they would grow. But they found a less expensive way to do that by buying food already processed. So, they cut back there. But I'm thinking over the course of years, there's been so many other cutbacks as well, even with many circuit overseers, for example. A circuit overseer now, by the time they're 70 years old, they have to leave. They don't want them anymore. And right before I left the Watchtower right before Satan kicked me out of his organization back in 2005, I should say, I sat down with a circuit overseer at a donut shop when I was still going out in service. And, he was approaching the age where they didn't need him anymore. And he says, Rick, I don't know what I'm going to do. He says, some of the brothers who are in the circuit and district work, they have an opportunity to be brought into Bethel, to be on the writing committee, a service committee, or something like that. But he said, I don't know. I haven't been picked. He says, they put me out to pastor. I don't know what I'm going to do. But see, what they're doing is they've eliminated, as we know, the district overseer. Now, that was an expense. There's no longer a district overseer. But now I can see them playing around even with the circuit overseers. They're using more and more substitute circuit overseers because a circuit overseer is a big expense. You got hundreds of them. They have to have a car to drive. They have to have expense money. So, they're working every day to try to cut expenses. And at the same time, they're losing funds from conventions. And, some people have actually called into the program here and thought that the Watchtower might even be going broke. But, I'm not going to go that far. I wouldn't say they're broke. They've got billions, I'm sure, in assets. But, Steve, you study business, you get into this stuff. A company or even a person, let's take a person. A person can be cash poor, but very rich in assets. Well, would you say that is where the Watchtower possibly could be right now? Cash poor, but rich in assets?
It appears to be quite possible that that's what's happening. That's consistent with a lot of their statements, a lot of their various schemes for raising money. It's quite possible too that the major sell-offs are being used for propping up the organisation to keep it alive, to keep it going. The expansion that should be present from the way they promote themselves as growing isn't coming to fruition. They're closing down and shutting down a lot of the printing facilities. Their reasons for doing that are just laughable. I remember in I think it was May 2019 issue of the Watchtower magazine, that was the one that discussed the problems of child abuse within the Jehovah's Witness religion. There was an article in there that spoke about their reasons for cutting down the printing, and it used the example of the yearbook, why they don't print the yearbook anymore. And the reason was because there were many fine articles on the jw.org website that people can go to and read. So that was their reason for cutting that whole thing down. Get rid of it. Everything's going online. That's saving costs. But the money from that is still not going in. If you received, say, in the olden days, your Kingdom ministry from the Kingdom Hall, then a lot of people that I knew during those years would put in a contribution into the contribution box to cover the cost of that 2 or 3 or 5 cent piece of paper. They would put in $2, $3 or $5 or pounds or euros. Nowadays, the Kingdom Life or the Christian Life and Ministry and any of the journals that they study are all digital. So there's nothing there. There's nothing physical in their hand, and the contribution is not there as well. So they've got, actually, I'll tell you about one interesting setup that they have that is allowed under their current financial system, and that is with the movies that they screen at the conventions. They're allowed to charge the convention coordinators and the convention department an amount of money per person that views the, say, for example, Jesus video. So if there were 5,000 people at a convention, the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania that owns the copyright can receive royalties or fees per person for the screening of it. And that's a very, very lucrative market that they're moving into. You're not watching those videos for free. They're charging an incredible amount of money, and they're pulling in a lot of money from those videos. So we'll see them a constant theme in Jehovah's Witness conventions for many, many years to come.
Well, that's interesting, Steve. But, I'll tell you, I wish we could open up the lines. We do have some people on here, but our telephone lines we had to close down or lock up because of these Bethelites coming in, like I say, these Watchtower operatives. So if you're listening in on YouTube or Facebook, normally we have a lot of people listening in on our telephone line, but they're not able to really come in tonight because of some issues we're having. So later on, we'll probably open up the lines later on tonight and see if we can't get some people to. But if you have some questions, for Steve, go ahead. You're on with us now. See if we can get these lines opened up for a short time here. You have a question for Steve, hit *6 if you're on the telephone line. If not, if you have a question for Steve, why don't you write it on YouTube in the chat box. And I'll tell you, this is a fascinating subject, Steve. People have always wondered, what the money in the Watchtower. And as I said earlier, because they're a private company, they don't really have to share that with anybody, and that's the way it would be. But it always has fascinated people. But when I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I really didn't look at the organization as being financially prosperous because that's the way that they would present themselves. Well, the Bethelites don't make a lot of money, and all the money we make, we put forth toward kingdom interest. So, all of the money really is just to cover the cost of us being Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's, I always really bought into that until I was invited down to Bethel. I was invited down to Bethel by Brother Loesch. And I've told the story on here before, but in the year 2000, I was brought down to Bethel on an invitation by Brother Loesch. They were looking for some new governing body members, and I was of the anointed class. So they got a hold of me. They wanted me to come down to Bethel, and I had an interview there for a potential position on the governing body. So I spent a good part of a day there going over a lot of stuff and questions and what have you. But I saw, my former wife and I, we saw that it was nothing more than a business operating as a religion, and it was masquerading as religion. And everything I brought up, for example, when you walked into the world headquarters, then it was at 25 Columbia Heights, Brooklyn, New York. When you walked in, it looked like a big, beautiful hotel lobby, and had this gigantic globe. I mean, the globe had to be 12, 15 feet in diameter by probably 20 feet, 24 feet around. It was huge. It was right in the main lobby. And so I asked the brothers about it. I said, boy, that's a beautiful globe. I asked Brother Loesch about it. Well, we got that, a bank went out of business, and we got it at a really good price. Everything that I brought up, they would always kind of, we got a good price. And there was also another item as well. When I was up visiting him, they took me into the room where the governing body would meet on the 4th floor of Brooklyn, 25 Columbia Heights. And there was a big desk, and there's the longest, biggest desk that I ever saw in my life. It had to be a good 20 feet long. And so Brother Loesch, the governing body member, he says, now, Rick, this is where the governing body meets every Wednesday at 10:30. And he says, now, do you think that we're all in unison? Do you think we all agree on everything? And I said, well, more than likely not. At the time they had 8 governing body members. So I said, not everyone's going to be on the same page. But I made reference to the desk. I said, that is one beautiful desk. I've never seen a desk that big. He says, again, we got that from a bank that went out of business, and we bought it. So it was always like downplaying that they had any money. And that's what they would do. Because even when I was an active witness, like I say, I didn't really, at the time, I mean, if I go way back, I can remember years ago, Bethelites were making $14 a month. I mean, they make about $120 a month now, from what I gather. But just to put this in perspective, this is what the Watchtower had to do. That they couldn't get away with. Oh, look at the money we have. But some of the things I witnessed when I was there was very expensive. But they couldn't get away with it. Because so many, in fact, the other thing is, Steve, so many Jehovah's Witnesses are so poor. Really, they couldn't get good careers in life. They couldn't move on and do things. So this is a trap they're in too. So, the Mormon religion, for example, the witnesses are jealous over them. The Mormons bring in way more money, and they educate their people. But some of the policies of the Watchtower, I think, has inhibited their growth. What do you think?
It has. Also, the passing of time. While the passing of time may not be kind on each of us physically, it's certainly not kind on the Watchtower Society as a corporation. You've got a sign just over your right shoulder. It says, still alive in 2025. And that's the theme of the convention coming up shortly. And with some of the things that they have a problem with that is going to cause them some issues, I wrote actually down a little list just in case the opportunity came up. And I want to go through this. It's not very long, very, very short one. But I put down this question: where will we be in 2033? And I put down 4 points. And these are things that are going to take place between now, 2025, and 2033. That's only an 8-year period. It's not very long. In 4 years' time, in 2029, it'll be the 2000-year anniversary of Jesus' baptism. That's a very significant event. That also signifies that nothing really much has happened in the world of the Watchtower Society in all of that time, because they're still here. They're still talking about the events of 1914, their appointment in 1919, going all the way back to the year 29. The next one is from 2029 to 2033. This covers a time period, 3.5-year period of Jesus' ministry. That also is coming up to 2,000 years. The 2,000 years being according to Jehovah's Witnesses chronology, not necessarily secular chronology. Then we have 2033, nice and 14, 2,000 years since Jesus' death, the Passover, the final one, and his subsequent death. That's 2,000 years. That's a very significant event, because what that means is we enter the 3rd millennia of Jesus passing away, of his dying. Then in 2036, which is quite a few years from now, but still it's only 11 years, that's the end of the 70 weeks prophecy in Daniel 9:24 to 27, if you believe the Jehovah's Witnesses viewpoint on that. That also is 2,000 years old, that prophecy. It ended. These are big events that are coming up in the world of Jehovah's Witnesses. And we know that we're still going to be there, and that they're still going to be there, and nothing significant is going to happen that will make any difference to the way things are. So that's something that the governing body would be acutely aware of. And it's quite possible that in the lead up to those significant events, that we will see more doctrinal changes, more watering down of teachings, more relaxing of rules and regulations. It's going to be very hard to be proud of entering the 3rd millennia since these events happened. Full 2,000 years and still no Great Tribulation, no start to Armageddon, no rapture of the governing body, which is probably something everybody would like to see. Maybe wake up one day and they're all gone. Wonderful. But then another group of talking heads would replace them. And it's quite possible we'll see some very, very significant events. I have a talk or a small discussion that I'll be giving at the upcoming Still Alive in 2025 convention. And I thought, if it's okay, Rick, I'll go through very, very briefly what that is about.
Absolutely. Love to hear it.
Okay. So the theme is Guardians of Doctrine or Guardians of Dollars. And many people may be aware that during the Australian Royal Commission, Jeffrey Jackson referred to the governing body as Guardians of Doctrine. He used other words as well. He also used the phrase Guardians of Our Doctrine, Guardians of the Doctrine, but he did use the phrase Guardians of Doctrine. So in my talk, Guardians of Doctrine or Guardians of Dollars, I'll give an introductory discussion and presentation on the worldwide financial arrangements under the control of the governing body. And I'll pop in there one, maybe two, I'm still trying to trim that down, short little videos that help people to understand. It allows some very simple things to be discussed, or sorry, I'll correct that. Some very complicated things to be discussed that are very simplified in a small presentation. So that's what I'll be doing there. The other thing too, I'd like to remind people is that the convention that you're hosting, Rick, coincides with the 10-year anniversary of the Jehovah's Witnesses appearing before the Royal Commission. And they appeared in Australia, the date was the 27th of July, or July 27, 2015. So this July 27 will be the 10-year anniversary of that. What's also significant is that that day was a Monday, but a lot of people are not aware that when the Royal Commission started with its opening address by Angus Stewart, it was Sunday in the United States. And that Sunday was July 26. And July 26 each year is the Watchtower Victims Memorial Day, and that's coming up shortly. It's also the day I launched my saysorry.org website. It's the same date, or the day of July 26, that Joseph Rutherford, the second president of the Watchtower Society, created and publicly announced the name Jehovah's Witnesses. So that was quite interesting that all of those things lined up. And there are other events that have happened over the years on that. Now, a couple of things I put down that I wanted to also mention was you stated earlier, Rick, about the assets and funds that the Watchtower Society have invested over the years. A lot of people are aware that they had $40 million in a hedge fund type investment through a Cayman Islands organization called K2 Assets. And in around 2012, that the money seemed to have disappeared and the whole entity disappeared. Well, actually, it didn't disappear. We have been able to track where it went. The fund was taken over by Franklin Resources, one of the United States' biggest financial institutions. They took control of the fund where Watchtower, Pennsylvania had $40 million invested in. And they also purchased K2 Assets and its subsidiaries and then absorbed that into the giant Franklin Resource conglomerate. So that's where that money went. So it didn't disappear off the face of the earth. It's not in Tony Morris's account in Trinidad and Tobago or anything like that. It actually was just a merger or an acquisition of a small hedge fund that was brought into a larger corporation. So that's something for anybody that has ever wondered what happened with that sort of money. So that's it there. It's correct in what you said before that we're not able to find out the actual balance of assets for Watchtower, Pennsylvania. There are a number of possibilities where that information can be obtained. Watchtower, Pennsylvania are named as parties to numerous legal proceedings, and it's quite possible through discovery that their finances and their financial arrangements can be obtained. It's also quite possible that restructuring of the finances of the Jehovah's Witness organization worldwide allows for Watchtower to donate via charitable donations its assets to reduce what it has for its assets. Watchtower New York didn't need to do that sort of thing, despite owning incredible amount of assets in the United States. They were able to minimize their ongoing future liability by the creation of Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses, who then now accepts responsibility for the appointments, deletions of elders and instructions to certain congregations. So that's how they're able to shift that. So I'll discuss the structures of the Global Investment Fund and the cash management centres in my short presentation. And that will, I'm not too sure what day it is. I think that's going to be on the Sunday, but we'll see when the when I get a hold of the actual schedule. You might have more info on that, Rick.
Yeah, in fact, we're looking so forward to you, Steve, coming on. So we're going to be on Sunday. I'm not quite sure what time it is yet. We're working that schedule out, but boy, we're all looking forward to you coming on. And, this has always been, when I first started the 6 Screens, we came out with a website years ago. And basically what it was, people say, well, what is the 6 Screens, Rick? Well, what is that all about? What does it mean? Well, when we wrote the website, Steve, because you have a website and it's not an easy task to do that. But years ago when we had it, we're revamping it right now. It's under construction. But years ago, setting up a website is very much like writing a book. And, in order to write a book, you need to separate certain segments of the book by chapters. Well, in writing the 6 Screens website, I figured that we had like 6 chapters. I call them screens. In other words, a screen is something that you would hide behind. And consequently, I came up with 6 screens. So that's what that means. But there's 6 different aspects or 6 different categories that I always believed the Watchtower was hiding behind. And first of all, theological teachings in their history. They hide behind that. They don't really tell you the truth about that. And then the second screen would be dark and tainted secrets. Well, we know all about that, the covering up of child molesters and all of these issues that they cover up and don't want people to know about. And then also on screen 3, it has to do with the occult connection. We know that they're steeped into the occult, and how they even started was basically on a cult connection. And then 4 has to do with there's just mind control. There's certain ways they control people through the use of mind control. That's one chapter. That's one thing we have of the 6 Screens. And 5 had to do with fear and guilt and disfellowshipping and shunning. But screen 6 had to do with business, because you have to think about the business. If this was a legitimate, honest to goodness business, it would be more helpful to the people who belong to it. And I don't know about your dealings with the Watchtower, Steve, but in all my years of having this program, there's never been anybody that's called into this program that said the Watchtower helped them. None. Now, I know the Catholic Church, I know other religious institutions, the Baptist, that they help people, that they legitimately help people. I have not heard one person ever, and we've had thousands of people call into this program that said the Watchtower helped them. Now, there are congregations, I know some people that were helped with, petty amounts of money. For example, if they needed some food, but it wouldn't be from Watchtower, and it wouldn't even be from the congregation. It would be from an elder. Maybe an elder, had a few extra dollars. And generally, when they pick elders, they pick elders that are a little more financially stable so that they can do this. This is a scam. And even I have a good elder friend, and we all know it anyways. But if ever, the congregation have to send in so much money, and they still basically do that. And if they come up short, then the elders are expected to dig into their pockets and pay. So the Watchtower doesn't give people anything. And yet, if there's any money to be given to anybody that's downtrodden and down on their luck in the congregation, it'd be the elders would take it out of their own pocket and give it to them. So that's what I really have focused on when I think about business. And I think about, the Watchtower being the mammoth. Well, actually, they're a small organization compared to Catholicism. But in the world of the cults, I'd say they're a mammoth cult. They're a huge cult. and they do have the money, but boy, they don't want to share it, do they, Steve?
No, they don't. They seem to love that money quite a lot.
Well, Steve, I want to thank you very much. I wish we could open the lines up here, but it's not going to work because of the operatives coming in. But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to you coming to the convention, coming through the internet at the convention. We got a nice big screen, a projection screen there. We'll have you nice and live, and we'll be monitoring you and walking you through it. And I'll be in touch. And you'll hear from me within next week, and you'll have the itinerary and what time on Sunday, okay?
That's good. I'd just like to also thank you, Rick, for letting me come on the show. And I've also enjoyed the regular appearances of Barbara Anderson. That's been really, really wonderful. I don't always tune in live because of time differences, but I do catch up. I often download her presentations and discussions, and then I'll listen to them on headphones while I'm doing gardening. But one thing too, I'd like to mention in relation to Barbara Anderson, I always believe to give credit where credit is due. When I was growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, or even as a member of the religion as an adult, one thing I noticed was the absence of any personal thanks from the leaders for anything you did. You never got any appreciation or anything. And I'd just like to let people know that it's good to thank people for what they've done. So what I want to do now is just thank Barbara Anderson for all her hard work over many, many years. And the reason I'm saying this is because over the last couple of years, there has been a very small group of aggressive ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that appear hell-bent on destroying Barbara Anderson, her work, and her credibility. They have been publishing on the internet, through social media, and on YouTube videos trying to discredit her. They've been implying that she's not speaking the truth. One of the main things is the following. A lot of people are aware of the Pennsylvania grand jury that's currently underway. Barbara Anderson was a pivotal person in getting that grand jury going. How do I know? Because I worked with her to get that grand jury happening. The two of us together prepared a massive report that went to the Attorney General in New York, and Barbara provided a copy of it to the Attorney General in Pennsylvania. Those were delivered from May 2018 onwards. Within a year, that is the following year in March, I found myself in the office of the Attorney General of Pennsylvania in talking to his team and discussing about the possibility of an investigation into the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society of Pennsylvania and the Jehovah's Witnesses. A lot was discussed in that meeting. Afterwards, special agents flew to Tennessee and met with Barbara personally and did further research on that matter. After those events, the grand jury was formed. Barbara was responsible for getting that grand jury to happen, and I witnessed that. Now, these people who are producing material on the internet are lying about who was responsible for it and are sending out misinformation, and these people need to be called out and they need to be stopped. Now, one other thing, and the person I'm mentioning now isn't involved in discrediting Barbara, and that is Mark O'Donnell. Mark O'Donnell has appeared before the grand jury twice. And that's really good because he has a lot of information that he can share with them to help them. How did Mark O'Donnell get involved in the grand jury? He doesn't even know himself. But for the record, I'll put it down now. I recommended Mark O'Donnell to the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office as a person who could assist them in their investigations. I had read a report that Mark had written under the name Redwood, And he spoke about the Stephanie Fessler case. And I thought he did a very good explanation on that. So I took that information and presented it to the Pennsylvania Attorney General and encouraged them to consider Mark in an investigation. And that's what they did. And that's how Mark O'Donnell got involved. And he's done a very good job for that, and credit to him for that. So in finishing up with that, I'd like people to acknowledge the role that Barbara Anderson played, and she needs to be credited with that, not discredited. So that's my 2 cents on that matter. Thanks, Rick.
Well, thank you, Steve. In fact, I was on the phone with Barbara this morning, making her flight, helping to get the flight all arranged. And my goodness, she's quite the gal. I had to call her early because they had the airline on the phone with us, and she's trying to fly with another woman coming up to the convention. But I had to call her, and well, I think it was 6. I think it was 6 o'clock her time, 6 or 7. But boy, she was up, and she said, "No, Rick, I'm ready to roll." And here she's 85 years old, and you all know that, and she's quite the trooper. So we'll have Barbara up at the convention. She's taking kind of a hiatus here off her programs with all the stuff that's going on in her life. Her husband died this year. She's been having some issues with her health. And plus, she also had a person come and live with her that created unbelievable havoc in her life. So she's had a rough year. She's going to be glad when 2025 is over. I'll tell you that. Well, Steve, thank you very much for coming in. I'll be in touch with you, and we'll be seeing you next, and not in person, but on the video here coming from Australia. Thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Rick. Cheers.
Yep. All righty. Well, that's our good friend, Stephen Unthank. My goodness gracious, he's quite the guy. He's out of Australia. And, well, let's see. Let me get on with this. Let's remove solo layout. Okay. Give me a second here, and I'll bring me on. Okay, solo layout. Okay, there I am. I'm back with you. All right, let me just get Stephen's banner off here. We got another person going to come on our program tonight and be with us. We're looking forward to that. Now, I'm just going to mention that, friends, I have to tell you, we've been doing this for 20 years, but we've always talked about these sexual predators in the congregations around the world. And of course, mostly we talk about male pedophiles, male sex perverts, sexually abused people, generally associate with a male. But we have a man coming on here tonight. His name is our good friend Dean. And Dean is going to talk to us about the problems he had with sex abuse when he was a young boy in the Watchtower. So let me just bring Steve on, make sure we can get him on here without any issues. Let's bring him on stage. Hello, Steve.
Steve, it's Dean, Rick.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got stuff. It is Dean. I know it's Dean.
Yeah, thanks. I forgive you. Please don't ever call me Steve. That's my piece of crap brother-in-law, my ex-brother-in-law.
I won't call you that again. No,
yeah, please don't ever call me Steve. Yeah.
I made a mistake with that.
No, it's all good, Rick. I know you got a million things on your mind, but I just want to first of all say that Jesus Christ is King. I am a pastor. Thank you for letting me come on, Rick, to share my harrowing story. It's filled full of horrors that everybody knows that are ex-JW members, but it also is full of triumph. And I'm just honored to be able to be on the 6 screens. I believe in the 6 screens, and I just admire you, Rick, for your many years of what you do.
Well, thank you very much. My goodness, well, we're looking so forward to you coming on. I'm looking forward to you coming to the convention, too.
Absolutely.
Boy, you're going to have a talk at the convention. You're going to be there in person. We're looking forward to meeting you, Dean.
Absolutely. But firstly, I want to rebuke, in Jesus' name, rebuke and admonish this wicked, evil cult that does not honor Christ at all. So in the name of Jesus Christ, I rebuke and admonish this evil satanic cult known as the Watchtower organization.
Well, I tell you what, I follow through with that. I say amen to that, brother. So, where should we start now? I'll ask you some questions if you don't mind,
Absolutely.
and then we'll just go back to the scene of the action. Now, you don't have to answer all the questions. I want you to answer the questions you're comfortable with, but anything that's not good for you to talk about, that's fine too.
Well, I'm an open book. You know, I stand naked before my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. The truth will remain standing. So, under Jesus Christ's blood, I am going to speak the absolute truth. I do not embellish anything. But when you hear just the reality of my stories, in fact, I don't want to call it a story. I don't like that word story. But if you actually hear the things that I've had to experience, it's going to probably, well, maybe it'll shock you, maybe it won't, because all of us XJWs are very learned, intelligent folks. And we've broken the paradigm of the mind control.
Well, we're getting close to understanding more about them every day. Now, what I'm going to do, I have a radio telephone line here, and I had to close it down, lock it up, because we have Watchtower operatives, Dean.
Yes.
Come in here, and we call them drunken Bethelites. They get drunk, and
Yeah.
I know this goes on for a fact. A Bethelite.
The 6 screens and the phone line from any interference from these demons.
Well, thank you
In
for
Jesus' name.
Well, thank you. Now, what we'll do, I'm going to open the lines, but if you hear some nasty words, these guys curse like crazy.
Oh, it's just the demons raging. It's okay. I've seen a lot worse.
Okay, so if you guys have, let the children go out, because I'm going to open the lines up, and these guys come in, I got to lock it back up again. But let's open up right now. So if you want to call into the telephone line.
The conference has been unlocked.
All right, so unlocked. Okay, so Dean, I'm going to go right back to the scene of the accident. That's what we call it. Well, when did you first become one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Okay,
well, my father, God rest his soul, he was born the year of 1929. Everybody knows in history what happened that year, right? And he had hello?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep.
Okay, yeah, he had a hard life, and I forgive him because he's a veteran of 3 wars. World War II, Korea, where he met my mother, and Vietnam, of course. So my mom, when he got out of the service, he retired from the Air Force. He's an Alabama boy. So we got there. He got out of the service after he retired. He became a postal worker. But, due to his PTSD that now his son Dean has also, my mom couldn't endure that. With myself, I'm the oldest of 3 boys, and then my 2 younger brothers. She was actually pregnant with my youngest brother, Frank. So my brother Frank never had a chance to know our father, which is kind of sad. But she left my father because he had a lot of problems with alcohol in true Irish fashion. I've broken that cycle, thank God. And she took us to Hawaii, where she relocated to. And her older sister is a devout Jehovah's Witness cult member. Now, a lot of this has ties to Korea that I'm going to mention later at the convention. I mean, and this is just incredible. But she's from North Korea, actually, believe it or not. So they're used to that. Shut up, do as you're told, don't question. And basically, you worship a man. Kim Jong-un, in fact, he should adopt the Jehovah's Witnesses there in North Korea. That would be a great mind control religion for Kim Jong-il.
Well, I'll tell you, Dean, it's actually a man that calls up here. He wrote a book saying how Jehovah's Witnesses are very much like they're controlled in North Korea, how people are controlled.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I do want to mention this because, you know, for some reason, and I know why, there are a lot of Koreans in Hawaii. It's a melting pot, as maybe most people know. But, you know, people there, they're into that Asian type thing. So there's a lot of Koreans in Hawaii. And for some reason, they're all just part of this wicked cult.
Well, I'm glad you refer to it as a cult, Dean, because that's exactly what they are. And you call an ace, and that's what they are, as a cult. Now, your mother moved over there to Hawaii, so you were with her. You were a young boy.
Yeah,
Now,
I was 8 years old, Rick.
8 years old,
In Hawaii. Yeah.
In Hawaii. So, what happened over there that really set your life in a tailspin?
Okay, so anyway, so my mom was indoctrinated by her elder sister, my Aunt June. God bless her. Right now, she's suffering from Alzheimer's really, really bad. She basically doesn't even know anything. So she's on hospice right now. I love this lady, even though, because she pretty much helped raise myself and my brothers. And I thank her. I love her. She taught me a lot how to cook. But just the fact of the whole ugly cult, I mean, maybe in her heart and her mind, she meant well, because she's a very loving, hospitable lady. But yeah, you know, the cult is like a snake. It just crowds out everything. The analogy I will give is, I'm a dog lover. I'm a dog trainer. It's like heartworms. So, you know, all those heartworms just take over the heart, where the heart can't even function anymore. And then the dog dies. So that's the analogy I wanted to throw out very quickly.
Well, and I like that analogy. That's a great analogy. So that congregation in Hawaii, did they have problems?
Okay, so yeah, so we were raised up in it. I'm going to relay more when I talk at the convention. Right now, I'm still getting my outline. A lot of it is already in my head. But anyway, to cut to the chase, Rick, for tonight's program, my poor mom was trying to make ends meet. She put herself through cosmetology school, you know, trying to take care of her 3 boys. My mom is a great woman. I'm not able to talk to her now because my ugly son of a bitch stepfather, he's like the grand poobah on Oahu for the wicked JW cult. But to make a long story short, before my mother married this son of a bitch, she was basically making it on her own. Right around the age of 12, she thought it was good, or she felt secure because it's supposedly a safe organization, right? She let me hang out with a ministerial servant there. And in hindsight, he was grooming young boys for the longest time. After he abused me, he went on to my brother, the middle brother. Thank God he didn't touch my youngest. But at 12, you know, I'm just reaching the teenage stage. He liked to feed me alcohol because I'm a young little teenager and I want to be like the cool kid on the block. So this guy would feed me alcohol, which is common in the JW org. And, you know, I'd get drunk and I wouldn't know what the heck I'm doing. Long story short, he took me over to his house, which my mom allowed. And I wound up getting raped by him. I think it was more than once. But I don't want to share too much information, but I'll just say the human body has sphincters in it. And I have a big problem with one of my sphincters.
Yes, in fact, I'm so sad to hear that, Dean. That really is sad to hear. But I'm glad you're willing to at least tell the story, and it can help people. Can help people.
Absolutely.
I've heard that before. What you're talking about, it can mess people up physically and mentally for many, many years. So
I'm very resilient. You know, there was a lot of negative. But I want to say I always try to look at the positive as well. Now, the good parts, if I can even say that there were some good parts, because there's good and bad in the world, right? It's yin and yang. So, you know, there can't be good without the bad, or we wouldn't be able to understand. So that's all our duty is in life, to navigate the trajectory of the crap that happens to us in life, but also appreciate the little beauty things, even out of chaos and evil. Because there's still good out there if you look for it.
Well, thank you for saying that. No, there is good. Now, you know why I got interested in you, and of course, you wrote me to the 6 screens, and you've been a listener of the 6 screens, and
I've been a listener for years. In fact, yeah. I've been a listener ever since I retired from the Air Force.
Wow. Huh? Well, thank you for doing that. Now, what got my attention, Dean, is when I talked to you on the phone, what have you. So, you know, we know that when you think of a pedophile, when you think of a person who abuses little children, normally you think of a male, you think of a man, a perverted man, and that happened to you. But also, was there some encounter that you had with a female sexual predator?
No, I wouldn't say I had an encounter with the female sexual predator. No.
All right, I just wanted to get that clarified.
Yeah,
but
no, not at all. No, not at all.
But generally, I mean, all the people that I've heard on our programs in the past, it was always mostly young women. But you're the first one that came on as a young boy. Now, this so-called ministerial pervert, do you think he was also harming young girls?
No, he liked little boys. That was his little fetish. And he went on to abuse more boys after I left.
Well, that is just totally disgraceful. It's, you know, I've been having, of course, running this convention. I've been having, you know, numerous people calling me, and for the last month, I've been every single night of the week, I've been talking to people, and some of the things I've been hearing, Dean, I cannot believe how perverted this organization is. It just, in fact, I can't. There was a woman that called me. I won't go into details, but she called me a week ago, and she's coming to the convention. But I told her it might be better not to talk about this subject. And what it was, when she was in the Jehovah's Witness congregation, her grandmother was there as well. Her grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness woman. And what the grandmother was doing is molesting children, little babies. And she was doing this. And what she wanted to do is train her granddaughter, who called me. She wanted to train her granddaughter how to molest little children. And I'm going, are you serious? And she says, yeah, that's what my grandmother was trying to teach me to do. This is in Jehovah's pure organization, Dean. Yeah. It's despicable what they do.
Yeah.
Really,
Sir Rick, it's beyond despicable. I mean, the word, there's no words in the Webster's dictionary that can describe it. I'm going to try to encapsulate it when I head out to Boston, God willing. I'm going to try to encapsulate it very, very well.
Well, I know you will. In fact, you're making a lot of people here tonight. I see them in the chat room here talking. A lot of people really have got interest in what you're saying. You come across as, and I love your style. I really love your style. You're a man that wants to get your message out. You're not intimidated by this organization. You tell it like it is. I like that about you, Nick. I like that about you. Really seriously, when you stop and think about it, Dean, that's what we need. We need people that are not afraid. I talk to so many people, and then there are extenuating reasons why people can't come out and, hi, I'm Dean. Hi, I'm Rick. I understand that. I had one man that I could understand the circumstances where people can't even come out and be in the public. And one man I knew, he had 4 little children, and he rented a house, an apartment, I should say, here in Boston. He rented an apartment from a witness woman. And if she found out he was an apostate, he loses his house. He doesn't have a place to live.
Absolutely.
So there are reasons. So I understand that some people say, well, Rick, not everybody can come out, and I understand that. But if you're not in a position where it's going to really be at disadvantage to you, I would say come out, let people know who you are, because it's one of the controls, Dean, to watch how.
Well, Sir Rick, here's the issue, right? A lot of those folks. I mean, I say this word respectfully, okay? There are a lot of cowards in the world, okay, that hide behind whatever insecurity, fear. Perfect love, as we know, casts out all fear. And this ugly organization thrives on fear.
The conference has been unlocked.
Yeah, if it does actually thrive on fear. You're 100% right with that. And that's why a lot of people, they suffer all kinds of problems from this cult, Dean.
Well, yeah. But a lot of them are fearful because it's so ingrained in this organization that if they deviate from this thought control, that they're going to lose everything.
Participants are muted.
And Jesus, our Lord, says, I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. A man's enemies will be members of his own household. And, my family's been taken away from me, but Jesus said, anyone that loves family over me is not worthy of me. And if you cling to Jesus Christ despite the persecutions, he said he's going to restore whatever you've lost on this earth tenfold. And my hope is in only him and him alone.
Well, good for you. So you have hope, Dean. And what's really very hard for me to understand is there's so many Jehovah's Witnesses. When they leave, they've been so spiritually abused. The Watchtower organization has damaged them so spiritually.
Yeah, that they write off God. They become atheists. Yeah, it's sad. I pray for them.
And you can understand, Dean, why they feel that way. The Watchtower hurt them so badly.
Oh yeah, of course.
So you get that. So I appreciate your position on that. But the one thing I could never really understand, and I'm glad to be a Christian. I don't get preachy on Saturday nights. We do that on Sundays. But what I want people in the audience to understand, and when I was in the Watchtower, I actually was going there to learn about God. Now, maybe I don't know what everybody else was going there for, but I enjoyed looking up scriptures, and I learned where they were, and so I did learn some things from the Watchtower. But I mean, they are false prophets. We all know that.
Right.
What really baffles me, and what keeps me awake at night sometimes, is if people got attracted to the Jehovah's Witnesses to learn about God, the Bible, which many people did, I wonder why it is when they leave, they just kind of head for the mountains, and they don't want anything to do with God, and not to get into,
because it's like you've been hurt. Here's another analogy I want to share, because I got a big law enforcement mind, but it's like this. You go to a gas station, you get assaulted, something bad happens there. 98.99% of the time, you are not going to go back to the scene of that crime or that crap that happened to you. It's the same analogy.
Hey, that's a good analogy. That works. That works with certain things. In fact, I often use the thought of, a young girl that was molested all of her life up until she get to be about probably 16, 17. And then what they do is they kind of do things to be unattractive. Maybe they would gain weight, or maybe they would have their whole body tattooed, or maybe
Yeah.
they would do stuff like that because they don't ever want to get involved with another man again.
Yeah.
And that's a similar thing here with what goes on with people leaving the Watchtower and having nothing to do with God. But I can see that you're a God-fearing man, and that's wonderful.
Well,
Now,
I'm a pastor. I'm a man of the cloth. You can't have me come on if I can't talk about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm not going to be overly religious. I'm going to stick to what has happened and all of the issues with this evil organization. And that's where I'll keep it.
good. Well, you're gonna come to the convention. You have a talk there.
Yeah, my
And-
tickets are already secured, sir. I can't wait to see everyone.
Isn't that going to be something? We're gonna, what's going to be good? You mentioned that you were in the Air Force. Is that right, Dean?
Air Force, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So if you talk to another Air Force person, and especially if they were kind of based at the same base you were, there's camaraderie. You enjoy even being with that person because you share something in common, and that's how we're going to feel at the convention. All of us ex-witnesses, we're going to feel something in common.
Yeah. Well, I'm a PTSD veteran. The cold has really no impact on my trauma. Yeah, I was traumatized, but it really didn't affect me much other than being raped. But no, I'm resilient. I've always been resilient. My first mentor was a Vietnam vet, and I know my dad made sure that he looked over me. In hindsight, my dad was still a great father, and he ensured that the military men took care of his son. So this Vietnam vet, I hope to God he's still living. I tried locating him. I haven't been able to locate him, and I just pray that he's not deceased. I'm afraid he is, though, or maybe he went missing in action. But he actually served with Oliver Stone out of the 25th Infantry Division in Schofield Barracks, near to where I lived and where I was raised and where I grew up.
Wow.
But this guy was a badass. He taught me how to be resilient. He taught me how to bivouac, how to adjust on a dime, how to K-ball, things that you find, wherever you may land. So I'm pretty much an expert at that. Kind of like the Rambo mindset. I really have it. And I'm not trying to toot my horn. This is the Scout's honor truth. I am not embellishing nothing here.
Well, we totally believe it. I do believe we have someone that wants to come on. Did someone want to come on and say something? We have opened up the line. We can hear you. Go ahead. Yep. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, great. I don't know if I was there or not. Hi, it's Marty here. I've been thinking it over, and a lot of the Jehovah's Witnesses and I was one too. The thing that attracts them, that's the kind of people they are. Once they leave that kind of thing, they're in it for a reason or another, and they're not really into shut up. They're not really going. They're not looking for another religion. They just want it for the reason they want it for. It attracts a certain type of person that's not really typically religious or looking for religion, but more looking for the type of falsities that they provide at the beginning. All the fancy talk and the honeymoon period and all that.
Yeah. Well, it attracts narcissists that have nothing better to do. They want to be part of an organization to maybe work themselves up in the ranks. I mean, a lot of it is kind of really related to the military environment too, because the military is kind of like the same mindset. It breeds a lot of damn narcissists because they work within that system.
Even our government. Come on.
Exactly.
Narcissists. Come on. So here, what we have to do as ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, we have to turn away from that and turn away from narcissism and to start practicing humility.
Absolutely. 100%.
That's what I think. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of chime in. I haven't called in a while. How you doing, Rick?
Doing real good. Well, thank you. Yeah, we got Dean on with us. We had Stephen on with us and talking about the convention coming up. And we're going to have that online as well.
Yeah,
so,
that's a nice one.
Oh, yeah. So
I
people.
want to tell these guys,
Yeah.
I did go one of these conventions many years ago. Well, not quite like yours probably, but it was similar. But, I told you about this before, and it was very interesting. You're going to meet a lot of different people, even from way back, like Russellites and all that were there. And it's interesting, it should be a good time if everybody can get there and be on the same page, I'm not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, but it should be pretty nice. It should be a good time. I thought it was great. We enjoyed it. It was up in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah. That was probably the Witnesses Now for Jesus convention.
Yeah. Witnesses Now for Jesus. Yep.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been down.
A few of those guys, Dunlop. I think I met Dunlop there, a couple other people. But you know what? Yeah, just bless you all, and just start practicing humility and don't worry about it so much. Just try to find out what God put you on this planet for, and He'll show you. That's what I did, and now I'm a musician. I always wanted to be. Jehovah's. You wait till the new system for that.
well, we want you to at least watch us online, because I'll tell you, we got some musicians going to be there. We got two.
No, I heard. Yeah, they'll be band. It'll be really nice. It sounds like a good. I hope it really works out well for you, Rick.
Well, thank you, and you can watch online and spread the word, and we're going to bring you right in. You'll feel just like you're there. But thank you for coming in tonight. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, Dean, see, we're getting things going here. We're getting things, what it is. We can open the lines up, and we have Dean.
How do I unmute?
How do you hit six? Hit star six. Yeah.
Star six. Okay.
Yeah, that'll bring up.
It's pound six if you want to come on to this. Okay.
Yeah. All righty. Well, anyways, if someone wants to say, we got Dean on here with us, and the lines are open. In fact, let me put the telephone number up here. You might want to call in, say hello to Dean. Call in. Well, see, we got to lock it. We have to lock it back up again, Dean, because that drunken Bethelite, they don't want us on here tonight. You might have frightened them a little bit too, because I'll tell you what, you have a very straightforward, in your face, like they punch them in the nose if you get in front of them,
I don't back down from them bastards.
Yeah, well, good for you. I tell people I don't have a soft spot from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. These guys have hurt so many people, Dean. They've hurt so many people.
Yeah. Well, Rick, I do not believe in violence. I'm an actual very peaceable man. But you know what? If I had to battle them in the physical realm, let them come after me. I dare them to.
Yeah, well,
come after me, JWs.
Well, I'll tell you. Well, you're a brave soul, absolutely. But you know what it is too, Dean, is so many people say, Rick, get over it, move on. But here's the thing, I still have so many relatives that I love dearly that will not talk to me. And it's very frustrating to love people and they do not want to respond back to you. And so many people sitting in our audience tonight, listening to this program, same thing. You got the same thing happening to you. And that's why we got to get this organization exposed. The world has to know how evil these guys are. So anyway,
Well, they're beyond evil, if you can even comprehend that.
yes. Well, Dean, it's amazing to me that you're doing well in life now. You're moving forward. You do have PTSD, as you say. We do have another man that comes on. In fact, he'll be at the convention. He's a Marine. He's a former Marine, and he was a Jehovah's Witness as well. When he left the Marine Corps, he became a witness, and he suffers from. I mean, he became a witness, and he got out there. He's a JW. He's an ex-JW now, but he has PTSD as well. And he comes on. He's going to be there at the convention, so I want to introduce you to him. You'll like him. He's a really good man. So, well, we're looking forward, Dean. I'll be in touch with you. We want to hear more, and I'll be in touch with you this week. Give you the full itinerary, the time you're going to be on, and all of that. Okay?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
I stand ready, Sir Rick. I stand ready.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being a man of your word. You said you're coming on tonight. You were here. That made me happy. Thank you, Dean. I'll see you at the convention. Thank you.
Okay, one last thing.
Sure.
God bless everybody. God bless the 6 screens. Rick, I pray over you that you have many more years of life to keep on your mission.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Dean. I really do appreciate that. You're a good man. Now, don't you ever change. You've got a good dynamic way about you. You're full speed ahead. And with people like you and with all of our listening audience, who knows? Maybe we can put the Watchtower out of business, Dean. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Well, that's Dean. My goodness. Boy, I'll tell you what, I mean, we're finding so many people that want to come on the 6 screens and talk about what happens in the world they were in. And boy, I'll tell you, the Jehovah's Witness world was an ugly world. It still is. And look at that poor man there. When he was a young boy, he was molested. So, in the organization, these predators don't only attack little girls, but they also attack little boys as well. Well, you're on the 6 screens, JW World News. That's the news the Watchtower doesn't want us talking about. We had to shut the telephone lines down tonight. The closer we are getting to the convention, the more it's bothering the Watchtower. They are overly concerned that we're going to get together. We're going to have fun. The Watchtower doesn't want us to do that. That we're supposed to be returning to the vomit. We're supposed to be mentally diseased. We're supposed to be agents of the devil. Well, we're not. We're not. We're just trying to alert people. I mean, even when I was a witness, how many times have you heard it said, we're in a saving work. We're out saving people from Armageddon. We want to bring them in paradise earth. And how many times did we hear that illustration over and over again? If the house next door was burning, wouldn't you run over there and try to help the people and yell and scream and get them out of the house so they don't burn in the house? I mean, how many times have we heard that? Many times. So basically, that's what we're doing here. We're just trying to let people know what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower. Well, we're not going to play the duck game tonight, friends. I'd like to, but we can't play it. The trivia game we play with the prizes, but because of the Bethelites coming in tonight, the Watchtower operatives, it'd be too difficult to do that here. But we will try to pick it up. Maybe the next time next week we'll have a program next Saturday night again. Maybe we can do it again. But the closer we get to the convention, it seems to be really irritating the Watchtower. They are really on our trail. They are just coming in like crazy as of late. But anyways, we're going to have to let the duck game go. And I want to let you all know that I really appreciate you coming in. I want to thank all those people, too, for wishing me a happy birthday. I kind of forgot about it. Being an ex-Jehovah's Witness, you don't really remember dates, but I kind of forgot about it. And then I was reminded from Facebook this morning, and yep, it's my birthday. I'm 77 years old, but I feel good. And I thank God that I still have pretty good health. I don't really have any issues to deal with. And, as we all get older, we're going to feel it someday, even myself. But, one thing that keeps me young is this program. One thing that helps me to stay young is you're staying busy. And I'm having fun. And I love talking to all of you folks. And I love bringing people on and talking to them. And I know the 6 Screens has helped a lot of people. And even myself as being a former witness. But I do want to say that it's not just me with the 6 Screens. It's all of you that, especially the ones that call up and the people that listen in, the people that go in the chat room here on YouTube and on Facebook. It's all of us together as one big team that can really bring down the Watchtower. So I want to thank you all for that. And I want you to keep standing tall. I don't want you to ever give in, up, or out. I want you to keep waving the flag of victory. And the last one, leaving the Watchtower, please turn off the new light. I'll see you next week. And write for those tickets. Write me, get some tickets. Come up to the convention in 2 weeks from today, or at least watch it online and spread the word. And like this, if you like this YouTube and you like this Facebook program we just did, put a like on there. Subscribe to our channel, and that'll help us a lot. And then mention if you're on Reddit or you're on the different forums, mention it, share it, tell people we got a convention. Let people know that. That would really help me. That would be the greatest birthday present you could give me. Spread the word. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week right here on the 6 Screens of the Watchtower.
Good night, everyone. Thanks, Rick.
Good night.